I'm going to tell you 3 suspicious stories, and in the end, you'll have to guess whether they're real or just made up by our writer. Stick around till the end of the video because we'll let you know if your guesses were right or wrong. Let's get into the first story. Sometimes we have dreams about certain people that feel so real, like we've actually connected with them, but when we wake up, they're not there, and we realize it was all just a dream. Our first story, called The Dream, is about a guy named Ryan who meets a woman named Stephanie, but something was off, something really big. Even though Ryan was 30 and single, he was a bit of a player and wasn't really into committed relationships. One day when Ryan was leaving his house, he saw a woman trying to fix her car, but it was clear she didn't really know what she was doing. Ryan went over and offered to help, though really it was just an excuse to talk to her. After fixing the car, Ryan started a conversation with her. She said her name was Stephanie and that she had just moved into her new house, which happened to be right next to Ryan's. This was a golden opportunity for Ryan, so he asked Stephanie if she wanted to go to dinner with him that night to chat. Stephanie agreed and they went to a restaurant together. It was obvious they liked each other. They talked about a lot of things, like how Stephanie had been cheated on in her past relationships and how she couldn't handle being betrayed again. After that night, they started hanging out more often, going places and spending time together. But here's the thing, even during this time, Ryan was still talking to and seeing other girls. One night, when things between them had gotten more serious, Stephanie and Ryan were at home together. Ryan was upstairs talking on the phone with one of his other girlfriends, making promises to her while Stephanie was downstairs. By chance, Stephanie overheard the conversation. Ryan tried to explain himself and convince her it wasn't what it seemed, but Stephanie wasn't having it. She left the house and didn't come back. The next morning, Ryan went to Stephanie's house to talk to her, but no one answered the door. There were a lot of houses in the neighborhood, so Ryan asked a few neighbors if they'd seen Stephanie, but the neighbors said there was no one named Stephanie living there. They told him that the woman he was looking for had left the house 20 years ago and moved somewhere else. She didn't live there anymore. This was weird because Stephanie had told Ryan she'd just moved to the neighborhood. Then, out of nowhere, Ryan saw Stephanie walking down the street, but she quickly ran off. Ryan chased after her, but when he got closer, she disappeared again. The place where she vanished was near a cemetery. Ryan searched the cemetery for Stephanie but couldn't find her. Just as he was about to give up, something caught his eye. On one of the graves, he saw Stephanie's name, age, and even her picture. That's when Ryan realized Stephanie had died 20 years ago and hadn't been alive this whole time. So, was the person Ryan had been talking to Stephanie's ghost? Or was Stephanie actually alive and just fooling everyone? Let me throw in another possibility. Maybe this story isn't real at all, and we're just trying to mess with you. Stick around till the end of the video, and we'll tell you whether this story was real or not. It's time to move on to the second story. Most kids think that if their feet stick out from under the blanket at night, a monster will grab them and pull them out of bed. They also believe there's something hiding in the closet that might come out at any moment. Adults usually think these are just kids' imaginations and not real, but let's look at it from another angle. What if the kids are right? What if there really is something in the closet? Our second story, called The Monster in the Closet, is all about this. Logan was a 9-year-old boy who had a brother. He didn't have many friends at school and didn't get close to anyone because the other kids said he was shy and scared of everything. Some days, when Logan came home from school, a few kids would follow him to bully him. Logan always talked to his mom about what happened at school and about his fears, and his mom understood him. Sometimes she'd even sleep next to him so he wouldn't be scared. His mom was a little worried because Logan was always afraid of something in his closet. He said that at night, when he was trying to sleep, the closet door would open, and he'd hear noises coming from inside. A few days went by. One day, a group of kids from school chased Logan to beat him up and make fun of him, but Logan ran home and locked the door. As I mentioned earlier, Logan had a brother. That night, some of his brother's friends came over to hang out. At one point, they decided to play a prank on Logan. They asked him, "Why are you so scared of the closet? There's nothing scary in there." One of them even went inside the closet, closed the door, and after a few seconds, came out laughing, saying, "See? There's nothing in there." They told Logan he should go inside the closet too, to face his fear and stop being scared of it. Reluctantly, Logan went inside and closed the door. After a few seconds, Logan started screaming and begging for help. His brother's friends thought he was just faking it, so they ignored him. But then, After a few more seconds, Logan went completely silent. No more sounds came from the closet. When they opened the door, Logan was gone. All that was left were his clothes and shoes. Logan's mom found out and immediately called the police. After a thorough investigation, the police concluded that there was no way out of the closet and no hidden compartments. They said it was impossible for someone to just disappear like that. After that incident, Logan was never found and vanished forever. What are you thinking right now? Can you figure out if this story is real or not? If it's real, how did Logan disappear without any way out? Stick around till the end of the video to find out if your guess about this story is right or wrong. It's time for the third and final story. We've all been in situations where suddenly, a voice inside us asks whether we should do something or not. Sometimes these inner voices even guide us. But the question is, are these really our inner voices? Or are they wandering spirits trying to communicate with us? Our third story is called The Wandering Doctor. James was a 10-year-old boy who went on a camping trip with his parents one day. He was an only child. His parents set up the tent, started a fire, and enjoyed the beautiful nature. James told his parents he wanted to explore a little near the stream and take a walk. His parents agreed. James was a brave kid and wasn't afraid of being alone, which is why his parents let him go by himself. He was only supposed to wander for a few minutes and then come right back. While James's parents were chatting and enjoying their time, they started to worry because James hadn't returned yet. They called out for him, but there was no answer. They quickly searched the area but couldn't find him. But let's leave James's parents for now and see what happened to James while they were calling for him. A little while after James started walking, he heard a sound like the jingling of a bell. He followed the sound and eventually saw it was coming from a snake, shaking its tail. James tried to run back, but the snake bit him on the palm of his hand, injecting its venom. In that moment, James didn't know what to do. The pain was so intense that he couldn't move. Suddenly, he saw a man in a wheelchair next to him. The man told James to stay calm and follow his instructions. James asked, "Who are you?" The man replied that he was a doctor. The doctor gave James a cloth and told him to tie it tightly around his hand to stop the blood flow. After James did that, the doctor handed him a device that worked like a suction tool. He told James to place the end of the device over the snakebite on his palm and suck the venom out with his mouth. James struggled but managed to do it several times, drawing the blood and venom out. After a while, James passed out. A few minutes later, he woke up, but the doctor was gone. Even the suction device in the cloth had disappeared. James quickly returned to his parents, who immediately called for help. An ambulance and a few nurses arrived shortly after. The nurses checked James and said he was out of danger. They asked James how he managed to save himself, and James told them about the doctor who had helped him. One of the nurses, surprised, asked, "Was the doctor in a wheelchair?" James said yes. The nurses then turned to his parents and explained that the person who saved James was actually a doctor who had died years ago. They said this doctor had been known to help people and save lives, and that he had appeared to several others before. And that's the end of our third story. It's so strange. How could a doctor who died years ago still be wandering around helping people and saving lives? Is something like this really possible? Or is this story completely made up and we're just trying to trick you? Our stories have come to an end, but before we reveal the truth behind them, let's do a quick recap. Story number 1, The Dream. Ryan meets a woman named Stephanie, but after some time, she disappears. A few days later, Ryan finds Stephanie's grave in a cemetery and realizes she died 20 years ago. Story number 2, The Monster in the Closet. Logan always said strange things happened in his closet, and that he heard weird noises coming from it. One day, his brother's friends locked him in the closet as a prank. When they opened the door a few minutes later, Logan was gone. After that, he was never seen again. Story number 3, The Wandering Doctor. James gets bitten by a snake while out in nature, but a doctor in a wheelchair saves his life. Later, the nurses tell James's parents that the doctor had died years ago and had been helping people ever since, disappearing after each rescue. Now, it's time to reveal which of these 3 stories are real and which are made up. Keep in mind, anything is possible. All the stories could be real, all could be fake, or it could be a mix of both. I'll give you 10 seconds to guess which ones are real and which aren't. Alright, what do you think about story number 1, the dream? Do you think Stephanie was really communicating with Ryan after her death? If you think this story is real, I'm sorry to say you're wrong. This story is completely made up and didn't happen. What about story number 2, the monster in the closet? If you think this story is real, you're absolutely right. This story is based on real events that happened in the past. And finally, story number 3, the wandering doctor. If you believe this story is real and that the doctor's spirit has been helping people, congratulations, you're correct. This story is also real. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. If you're up for more challenges and want to guess whether other stories are real or not, check out the rest of our videos. Oh, and one more thing. If something strange has ever happened to you, share your story in the comments and let us know if it's real or not. We might feature your story in one of our future videos. Until next time, take care and goodbye.